Welcome back. We've been speaking about the proposed National Financial Information Registry, which the budget said the government intends to create. A kind of a parent of this is the Public Credit Registry, which the Reserve Bank tried to create. I have with me three people who are intimately connected with the formation of the Public Credit Registry. Mr. Sudarshan, former Executive Director with the Reserve Bank, Mr. Sharad, and Mr. Sriram Kalyanaraman, who were members of the high-level task force which advised the Reserve Bank as to how this Public Credit Registry should be created. So we want good advice on how to do it this time when it's going to be a much larger body, not just credit information registry, but all financial information registry. Now, Mr. Sharma, before we went into the break, you said that, some work has already been done. The account aggregator system is available. So how should we think of the relationship? Should we just allow the existing, credit information companies like CIBIL and account aggregators to remain and create a separate supervisory body? How will you design it?
Yeah, so there are three types of systems we need, and they have been conceived even earlier to address the issue that Mr. Sen is talking about. As he's pointing out, you need a cross-regulator view of the borrower or of the company that we are talking about. So that's very essential. Now, so the three systems that we need is, one is an account aggregator. That luckily is across all regulators, right? It's an FSDC regulation managed by RBI, but all regulators have pitched in and they want to make it happen. The second is a system where consented flows of data will not suffice, and therefore you need in public goods, for public good reasons, you need to be able to access that person's data, whether that person wants to give it to you or not, right? Either for monitoring or lending purpose. That was earlier the scope of the PCR, and as Mr. Sen points out, the PCR can be expanded to cover other regulators. So that absolutely makes sense. The third is an aggregate data set that gets generated inside the ecosystem that becomes very vital to find out how to do future predictions, either on insurance side or on lending side for underwriting models. So these are training data sets that are there. So these training data sets have to be also shared to have good data models. We in India don't have a good system for doing that because that relies on anonymization. That's an art. It doesn't scale well. It hasn't done that anywhere in the world. And later this year, India is coming up with that system as well. It's not in the budget, but it's part of the data economy of India. It's called the DEPA training cycle, Data Empowerment and Protection Architecture Training Cycle. These three systems will act in concert. And if we design these systems well, these are the only three systems that we need. Now, the important part of this is that one of the journeys that we've already started that has worked out very well for us is this principle that we will do federated data. We will not create large data stores, centralized data stores, because if you create large centralized data stores, they're vulnerable to hacking. That's the concern with Aadhaar. And more recently, Aadhaar has been completely safe and secure because of the wonderful design, the teamwork that is there. But if you look at Australia, the number of hacks they are having is unbelievable. Right? So their CDR system is now limping because of the hacks that are there. So we should not go down and forget the lesson that we've already learned, that we should have federated data stores, whether the data store is a consented data, non-consented data, or training data. But they should all be federated, because the moment we start creating national central data stores, we will suffer the same problem that Australia suffered.
Over-centralization is bad, also in data. I get that point. Mr. Kalyanaraman, the problem of dispute resolution will always be there, because my data could be wrongly reported by the bank to the credit information company, and in this case, the registry. I'm telling you from personal example that I paid off a 20-year loan in 4 years, but the bank made a mistake. I won't name names. The bank made an error when I, 7-8 years later, went for another loan, which I didn't really need. I was actually trying to examine, how much, if I need. And that person told me that the CIBIL is reporting that you defaulted. And because I'm banking reporter, I could get it immediately resolved, actually in a matter of hours. But now you think of a public registry. Somebody has misreported. Here it was at least a semi-private company, so I could get it done quickly. will this not be a huge problem if it is a public company? Should we think of other structures?
Right. I will come to that, Lada. Before that, let me just rewind a little bit to your last question, where you had said how this data will be accessed. Even today, and Sharad will vouch for it, all the SME lending, most of them have intermediaries who access most of the data from MCA, from GSTN, from CERSAI even, and give it in an aggregate form. While it is on consent and data is probably limited. So while we take that, we have already have an example of these data being analyzed, done, and decisions being taken. Though I would put it, it's probably about 180 degrees and not 360 degrees.
Okay.
Number one. So when Sharad says he will do federated data and probably cover everything, it's absolutely not an impossible task as we make it out to be. It is definitely possible. And today the technology developments have clearly proved that.
Okay.
That's number two. As to your question, yes, that reminds. In fact, I myself am a sufferer in a couple of trains. Because of the process where we go back, the credit bureaus have to go back to the banks. Many banks do not respond when it is individual. So, but that is why precisely the Reserve Bank brought in an ombudsman scheme, right? If it works so well with all the private sector players, then there need not be a ombudsman. Now that is going to remind a little bit, be it a private sector or a public sector. We think a little more, why should somebody have 15 days to correct the data?
Yeah.
If my data is wrong and there is an appeal, especially I presume we would start with SMEs and companies first rather than into individuals. So it's very easy to go back and verify because all this data are lying somewhere or other in the system. It's not as if, so immediately go and verify and probably correct it in 3 to 4.
Okay.
That should be the thinking and not give a 15-day or a 30-day window to correct it.
Okay.
Third, just let me complete. The corporates, as I say, and the MSPs will also have a little more say in pushing you rather than an individual. Today, you have if you are an ordinary citizen, to push it through a credit bureau and a bank is a little tougher because you have other things to do. You can only write mails or write letters. Things will be a little different. So I don't think it's going to make a difference whether it is a private sector or whether it is going to be under RBI.
Got it. Yeah.
But having said it, we all should be, when we do the design, should be completely aware of this and be super proactive to get this.
Okay. Well, now I am being warned that I'm running out of time. So, Mr. Sen, the last question. How much time do you think this will take? Do you look at this as a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, or much earlier?
I think of this as an evolution. I would not chase very unrealistic deadlines. Because credibility is going to be very, very important for this database. We have to work with what we have. Rather than create formats and then ask other related databases to kind of conform to these formats, let's start with what we have. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit. Make that the first stage, and then we build on it over time. This could take 5 years. And let me remind you, the actual operationalization and implementation can take even longer. Like take CERSAI. It took a long time for the KYC updation framework to really stabilize. They had their teething problems. So we have the design issues, which will take time to build layer by layer, after which we'll have the infrastructure issues, after which we will have the implementation issues. So let's not be in a hurry, but let's hasten slowly. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you very much. That looks like a very good plan to be evolutionary and take some steps at a time. And looks like several steps have already been taken. I still worry that what I thought the public credit registry will be round the corner, that didn't happen as quickly. I do hope the NFIR is luckier. Mr. Sharma, Sriram, Kalyanaraman and Mr. Sen, thank you very much for enlightening us about something which perhaps will be a part of the public financial framework very soon.